Okay. Okay. Today I'm going to talk about usability testing. I've also called it user or formal user testing or formal testing. And this will be the main task for you in assignment 4. So next Monday, the people from the company that I have been cooperating with for defining the assignment 4, they will come and introduce the website and the company and so on, and I will introduce the project. But today I'm going to tell you about how usability testing is conducted. So my plan is to actually just give a long lecture and then we're off. Is that okay? But do you want? Yeah, okay. I am recording now, so so you can go back to this later on. So I will tell you about the process of usability testing and the measurements. And I will put there a paper on from 2005. Actually, I ran out of time yesterday because I was defining the project 4 with this cooperation company. So I see there that I'm using the slides since previous the previous version of the slides. So maybe something about the fourth project there will not be right, but I will tell you then. I didn't have time to go through all the slides actually before this lecture. Yeah, I wanted to show you this. Oh, okay. This is a nice video for actually, before we go into user testing, I would like to show you this. You know,
I'm J.B. Brown, the Nursery Innovation Lab Manager, and this is the lab. We work on 1-week experiments. Somebody will have an idea and we'll find a way to figure out how to prove the idea is going to work. And this week's Innovation Lab is going to be building an iPad app with customer feedback as we go through the week. We wanted to work in the store to make sure that we were getting customer feedback as we worked, so that we were never working on anything that wasn't valued by the customer and only doing things that delivering value. So we'll be building a feature and testing it until we get to the point where we have something that's good enough that we can just leave the iPad behind and have this new thing that customers can use.
This is the world's first Flash build. It's a flash mob where a software team shows up and builds an application in a surprise location. This is the Nordstrom Innovation Lab, and we're at the flagship store downtown Seattle. Right now, the team is just setting up their equipment to get started. We're going to build an iPad app that helps customers pick the best pair of sunglasses for them. We really don't know what the features are yet. We're going to use customer feedback as we go along throughout the day and the rest of the week in order to build the best thing.
So the next thing we're going to do is user story map. So we're going to sit here and together outline all the steps that a customer would take, and actually do beforehand how they buy sunglasses. Like what are the different things that they might do and how that process might change if you have this application. And we'll actually dig into what we have to build in order to support that process.
So now that we've done a card mapping, we're going to do a paper prototype. And this is something that we commonly do in the innovation lab. It's a great way to show what we'd like to do in a rough prototype that we can easily throw out, change, alter based on feedback from the customers. I'll continue building individual paper slides, and our user experience specialist, Tel, will bring the prototype to a customer and say, okay, I have this app and this is a paper version. I'd like you to kind of use it like you would normally use an app, and you can press things, interact with them, and then she'll change out the pages based on how the customer uses it. So it's a similar experience to the iPad, only an analog version. So it's day 2, and we have our first working prototype of this app, and how it works is I take my first pair of sunglasses, put it on, picture, all right, and then I want to compare it to this other pair I've got right here. Put these on, take another picture. I can just hold these up like this and see which one I like better.
Well, Tel and Kim, having talking to people and doing paper prototypes, we've been coding, building an iPad. We take a stab at something, we look at paper prototypes that Kim put together. We might take one at a time. Usually we come to the board and we grab the most important feature and we start implementing it. The really cool thing with this flash build is that we have actual real customers. Just today we delivered 4 or 5 different separate features, and I swapped the iPad with Tel. She'd go and talk to a customer, and 10 minutes later I had feedback from real customers about this thing that I delivered, and it changed how we did the next thing.
And it's been really, really great watching day to day what they've been doing, the team, to get all the feedback from the salespeople, the feedback the salespeople have got from the customers. And it's a really interesting process to kind of come in. On Tuesday, we had no idea what this would look like. There was an idea that somebody had to say, people take a lot of pictures of themselves with the sunglasses. It'd be cool if we could show them side by side and help them make the process better. And that was the idea, that was it. They came in, they had nothing built, and they've been building this literally on the spot throughout each day. And by now, we actually have an app, a functioning app that they can go through. It's very intuitive to help look at themselves and make the sunglass selection process easier, which is pretty cool to watch.
So yesterday, the sunglass buyer from Northwood came down and checked out our progress, and she happened to put on polarized glasses and then held up the iPad in portrait view and was surprised that she couldn't see anything. It was black. We figured out the polarization of the iPad running up and down and the polarization of the glasses running vertical canceled each other out. You don't see anything. But if you turn the iPad to landscape, you see perfectly fine because of the polarization of the 2 items lined up, and it's okay. So it was a pretty good find to be in the store, and she just happened to put on polarized glasses. And so today, first thing I'm going to do is switch it to a landscape design and then lock in the aspect ratio of the iPad, so customers and salespeople just naturally pick it up and use it in landscape and not try to go to portrait.
Okay, so I'm going to show you what we've been working on the last 5 days. We've added quite a few features over the week. You take a picture, multiple pictures of the customer, and then pull them up. Tap the first one, you can see it larger, and then tap the second, and do a side-by-side comparison of each glass next to each other. We also added a feature where you can rename the picture, because we heard from salespeople, if customers try on quite a lot of glasses, it's helpful to be able to know what order they were taken in, and also rename if you want with the brand or some distinguishing feature on the glass. Another feature we added was the ability to zoom. And zoom in and really get a good detailed look at the frame side by side. Also, to see one of the pictures larger if you want to just better view one frame. You can flip the camera view as well. Face it forward so the salesperson can take a picture of it like this, or you can flip the camera so take a picture yourself facing forward. And then at the end of it all, you have a button called New Customer, which just erases all of the images and allows the salesperson to start with a new customer.
We're just trying to put the final touches on the app. Tel talked to a lot of users, and they said that when we went into the compare view, it was unclear where the pictures were coming from and which picture was which. So the animation here is trying to solve that problem, make it a little more clear what's going on. One of the challenges in the software is what you've done, right? And I think the answer is really, it depends on how much time you have. At least the most important things got done. So this was time boxes for the week, and we did a week's worth of work, and it seems like what we have now is something that makes customers happy and addresses the main problems, and something that we can track, we have metrics on. So we're going to call that a day.
The application has developed so far. Everything's finished, everything that we've asked for, and even the little roadblocks and glitches that we kind of stumbled across as we use the app during the week has been solved. I think that it's going to be really easy to be able to implement into our sale, and I think that we're going to find a lot of success with the application, whether it's via a selling tool for us or if it goes public into a downloadable format, whatever happens, this was generally quite successful.
Right. Okay, not my day. Okay, so the idea here was that what they are doing is they were doing evaluation and learning from the evaluation for the design. And this is called formative evaluation. So they take the results and they learn to make a better design. But sometimes you also do more summative, or like taking the status of something, you know, and this could be done in experiments, or in research, or you could maybe just want to know how is it now compared to your usability goals maybe, or something. And the formal user testing that we are going to discuss today is often used for that. So this video showed you maybe more, it was like a summary of the process that you have been using in assignment 1, 2, and 3. And maybe you could take some ideas for planning the future from this. But usability testing, it is formal because everything is quite structured. It is not informal like in the video. It's more, you have this, you should do this first, and then that, and then that, and the user should first do this task, and then this, and so on. So it's very, it is like following a recipe very, very thoroughly if you're baking a cake or something. And usability testing involves representative users. It means that it is very good if you get the real users, the people that will really be using the system. And they are attempting to solve representative tasks, meaning that the tasks that you ask them to solve are really real, or something that they would do. It is in representative environment, and it can be on prototypes or existing system. So actually what they were doing in the video could fit into this definition, because they had the representative users. There were people there really buying sunglasses, and they were having this task of choosing the sunglasses. So there were representative tasks that they were solving. They were in the right environment, and they were testing either prototypes or existing software. So the testing itself has this definition. How you use the results can be 2 ways. Either you use it for gathering feedback for designing again, or reforming, redesigning. That's called formative. The other one is more like, now we have this data, the average time of solving task 5 is 1.23. And our goal was 1.0, so we are not there yet. You see, so that's more like we are measuring, checking, how is the status now? And that will be more the inspiration for you in assignment 4. Then you will do more like thorough measurements. And to do that, we have to be very structured. So the basic goal when doing usability testing is often to improve the quality of the interface, but sometimes you use it to give feedback to the design, but sometimes you use it for just checking how is it, how is the status now. And we also, of course, want to discover what works well. So in assignment 4, you're maybe doing a little bit in this direction, to use the method to gather information for research, or summarizing or checking the status of the usability of the system. Here, I had one problem, and I thought it was quite ironic, because I was trying to order a free copy, because lecturers get free copies of a book on how to research this, making usability testing. And I got a problem, usability problem while doing that. And that was the ironic part. And then, and I had written them a letter. I'm Marta Lárusdóttir, and I would like to order a copy. And I selected send email, and I got this. Some symbols you entered. Some symbols you entered are not supported. Please try again. A full list of supported symbols can be found in the help files. And where do I find the help files? There were no help there. I couldn't do it. Yeah, maybe they're down there. Yeah, contact us and help. Yeah, it's very, very small here, down here. But I didn't know what symbol, so I tried many times. I tried to take out all the Icelandic symbols and so on. And finally, I couldn't do this. So I had to quit, and I thought that was so ironic. So sometimes you get problems like this. I don't know how often you get these, and I know that I'm very observant about these, because this is in my field. So I feel that I get these quite often. The systems should support me better there, I believe. Okay, so what we are, the main focus of user testing is to gather usability problems. This has been like the main focus. And usability problems, like we have discussed, are flaws in the interface, and you could have 3 different categories of the severity. But what is always the case is how much does it affect the user? Is it really delaying or taking time from him, or is he getting irritated? Or the very serious ones, when the user can continue, like me, I couldn't continue ordering this book there. I just stopped and found some email or something to do this, not in this system. So of course, users find their ways. They are not stupid. So people find a way, but if you are building a system for making it easy for them, it's a bit depressing if they can't use it. So we have discussed this. The severity of problems are, we often define it in 3 categories. There's one thing that you have to think about here. When we are doing usability testing, we ask one user at a time to come and to solve tasks. and you did this with travel weather. You got one user, they solved tasks, and they got maybe some problems. But when you're doing usability testing, you have more users. So when the first has left, the other comes, and so you have one by one. You know, there's only one at a time. And when you have like the fifth users, you start to see the same things that they have problems with. So there are issues that each user has, but then if you see the same issue, that is one problem. That's not 5 issues, you know, 5 problems. So what you have to do is to sort of summarize the issues from each user to make a problem. And the problems are more serious if many users experience it, if it's made of issues from many users. And we will make actually a clear distinction in assignment 4. You will both be asked to list all the issues you find from each user, and then you'll be asked to gather or summarize and make a list of the problems, and then tell us how many users did have this problem, or you know, what issues it's made of. Okay, so formal usability testing, or formal user testing is you have predefined tasks like you did in travel weather. You have several users. There has been a lot of debate about how many users you need in user testing. Many people say you have to have at least 5. In assignment 3, I will ask you to have 1 for each student in the group. But you could have more if you like that, if you want that, because then you will get better results and you will have more data to work on. But the minimum is 1 user per student. There are predefined roles and activities, and the main goal is to observe how users use the system. How easy is it for users to use the system? And there are, you know, this is like the frame for user testing. The most frequently used method for doing this is called think aloud. And what that adds, you could do this and you could just ask them, like I don't remember how you did it. Maybe you did it a little bit differently for travel weather, but you could ask them, can you please solve this task? And then they just start to solve it and you observe how they do. This is one way. Another way is while they are solving the tasks, they are asked to tell you what they're doing. And then you get the information of what they're thinking about. So that is why it's called think aloud, because they are telling you everything they think about. Yeah. So now in assignment 4, we will focus on formal user testing. You have been doing a lot of informal user testing. And sometimes you don't even have to have predefined tasks. You ask them just to look at it and discuss the interface with the users. So you have done actually evaluation of low 5 prototypes, which is one of the examples of informal user testing. So I've shown you this before. When we are doing user testing, we have 1 conductor that is observing the user and then a participant. And then they get tasks 1 at a time. There's 1 user also at a time. Not you can actually do a user test with 2 people, and then it's natural to talk together. But this is not as usual as having 1 at a time. And what we are measuring is the usability. We can also measure user experience, but that is often done then after they've solved the tasks. Remember, we did measure user experience of the RU web with the questionnaires. You filled in a questionnaire on paper, then we were measuring the user experience. Okay, so the think aloud method. You should have representative users if possible. If not, you could have some users to like I've called it user surrogates, so users that are similar to the representative users. But that is not as good because then we don't know how the real users would behave. Yeah, and the main difference of or what this distincts think aloud method from formal user testing is that the users are asked to talk while they solve the problem, solve the tasks. Yeah, so it should be talks while solving tasks. And we are really thinking about usability problems. We are thinking about what are they saying? Do they have any problems when they are using the system? And they, like me there in while ordering this, I would have told you, okay, I'm now putting in the email and yeah, I just write, something. And now I'm pressing send email and whoa, there's an error message. Whoa, I have to read it and I would maybe read it out loud. So then you know that I was surprised by getting the error message. And then they say something about symbols. I don't know what symbols they are making. Maybe it's something in the email or what I wrote in. I have to check. And then, I start to iterate and try again. And then you understand what my problem is because I'm talking all the time. When you will be doing this, you will have one conductor that will be controlling everything. And you did that when you were user testing the travel weather. I say there it has incredible results. And this is really true. It always surprises me how much you actually, your understanding about how the usage is of the system really, how much it extends by observing people. You think like what the problems are, and if you have done like 2 users, like, okay, but then the third comes and has a different opinion. It's really, really informative, and especially if you manage to go into their own environment. That's the best thing. So usability testing or user testing can involve hundreds of users. I've seen some research papers that say that they involved 120 users. But that was, of course, students in a computer science class or something that did that. But often you try to have at least 5. And especially when you're doing formative evaluation for doing it, using it for design. But of course, 2 or 3 is better than nothing. So I really encourage you when you come to, when you will be working, try to do at least 5 would be really nice, but at least 3. It's much, much better than doing not doing anything. And don't think about, oh, it takes too much time, I can't do it because I can't do 10, then I can't do it. It's better to do 2 or 3 than nothing. Yeah. Okay. So this is not right, but in the fourth assignment, you will do formal testing. You will involve as many users as there are students in the group, and then the rest is not true. So we'll just skip this right away. But I will tell you about the company on Monday, what company we have, and what we will cooperate with. Okay, so the structure of Think Aloud sessions is this way. You have the introduction, where you say, okay, we are doing user testing of this website for planning travels for tourists, and I thank you very much for participating. This will take so and so long, and so forth. So you have a list of things that you have to tell them. You will have to tell them about how information will be kept confidential. And then often you have an interview or you use a questionnaire to ask about the background. Then the main session begins when you're solving tasks. The conductor is observing, and often you have either a person to register the data, or you have a video running to register the data. And after the task solving session, you have an interview or questionnaire, and this could measure the satisfaction or user experience. So this is more like on the subjective aspects, and then you thank them. And remember when you were doing contextual interviews, you also had the introduction, a bit similar to this. And then you had like a task solving session, and then you had the debriefing in the end. So the structure is quite similar, but the task solving session is different. So now you ask them to think aloud. Now you're controlling. In the contextual interviews, you ask them to tell you about something that they currently do, and they are teaching you. So especially the middle section is different from contextual interviews and user testing or think aloud sessions. And here you have the list of what you have to go through in the introduction. So you have to thank the participant, tell them about the goal, tell them about the process, and tell them what you would like of them, that you would like them to talk while they are evaluating or participating. And you could even give them an example here, telling them like, I would really like you to say what you're thinking. Like if I would be doing this now, and if I would be asked to check how to use this, I would say, oh, okay, I'm supposed to check how to use this, and then I would scroll and say, I have to look further down here, and so on. So you can give them an example to encourage them to talk, because it's vital for you that they are speaking, because then you understand what the problem are. And then you also have to tell them what is done with the data. So this is like, you have to tell them all this before you start. And sometimes you can also have a formal written agreement with the participant about how to keep it confidential and what will be done with the data and so on. Okay, the tasks. In assignment 4, we will actually give you the tasks similar to what you got for travel weather. But when you will be doing user testing yourself in the industry, you have to think about that the tasks have to be goal directed. You have to think about what is it really that they want to do. The task shouldn't be list all possible things. This is more like how they should, or this is more like instructions. But it should say you would like to know all possible ways of or you would like to know all concerts in Harpa in this week from 1st of March to 7th of March. So not tell them you should list all concerts in Harpa from 1st to 7th of March, and especially not tell them by pointing there and doing that and so on, because then you have really told them how to use it. So this is actually a challenge, how to write the tasks. But the tasks should really state what should be done, and they should be written from the user perspective. What is their motivation? What is their goal? And they need to be clear and unambiguous. So they shouldn't require further explanation. You are there, so it's not maybe so bad. They can always ask you. You should actually encourage them here in the introduction to ask you if they can't understand the tasks or if they have some problems. Yeah, so this is one example. You need to find the email address. This is the need. This is something that I would like or need to do. Okay. When we are making the tasks, we don't require the user's personal data. We often give them the data. So we just tell them, now you are John Dundee, and you have this information, and what they need to solve the task. So we don't ask them, and this is for confidentiality also, to keep the information confidential. Confidential. I will manage to do this in the end. And the tasks should be typical and typically have one clear answer. So actually, it is sometimes good to do like a happy path for the tasks. Think about, okay, what would be the best way of solving the task before you start to do the user testing? So what would be the optimal way of doing this? And then we have to think about, must the tasks be completed in a certain order? Can we skip some tasks? Because sometimes we probably maybe told them, well, this will take half an hour. And if they are very slow, we can see that there are like 4 or 5 tasks left and only 5 minutes, and they will never manage to solve them. So then we have to have clear in our mind what are the really essential tasks. Yeah, and then you should also think about how should the participants note to you if they are giving up. And often you would like them to tell you, now I think I'm finished, because sometimes maybe they are halfway through, but they think they're finished. And then there's a great misunderstanding in the interface. But if you stop them and say, yeah, you're finished, then you will not discover this problem. So I recommend that you ask them to tell you when they have completed the task. And you should also tell them that they are allowed to tell you anytime that they don't want to work more on this particular task. They could skip the task or quit solving the task anytime. And then typically we tell people in the introduction how much time it takes, and then we have to keep that promise. So very often we do some time limit because people would like to know when they can leave, how much time they are giving to you. Okay, for the testing session, sometimes you have asked users to come, or like made a schedule so you could confirm beforehand. Sometimes you just go there and ask then people, could you take part? And it is good to leave some extra time in your schedule so the users don't have to wait. If the time is running a little bit over the limit, then it's better that you are waiting a little bit than them. Yeah, and sometimes you pay users for their time. This could be just a small things like chocolate bar or something, or it could be a little bit more. So this just depends on the company that is doing this, or the circumstances. I haven't really. When I have been doing this, I've been the company that was asking me to do this. The people that were participating in the user testing were employees of the company. So then I didn't have to pay them, because the company was really buying this service from us. Yeah, and one really important thing to think about is that you have to decide in advance how you handle if the participants get stuck. How quickly do you actually help them? You would like to know the problem, but you can't let them, be there like in isolation. Once I got really bad conscious when there were 2 users at that time doing usability testing, and I was observing, and we were actually 2. So I was the conductor, and there was an data collector there too, and there were 2 users. So they were talking together and trying to solve this problem. And they had the problem, and then one of the users said, well, I don't think we can talk to them there. They won't tell us anything. And I was like, oh my God, we have been so unhelpful that they talked about us like statues there, We were really isolated from their world, and they didn't really think that we could help them. So this is not the scenario that you would like, but you would also not want to help them too fast, because it's very irritating if you're doing something, you're trying to solve a problem, and then somebody comes and says, I will help you here or help you there, That's also irritating. So it is a fine line when you actually would like to help. So discuss it in your group before you do the user testing. And then if the participants stop talking, you have to remind them that their feedback is important, and if they could actually talk more and so on. So there is a list of things that you should try to avoid when doing think aloud tests. You have to have everything ready when it starts. So this is one of the things that often occur, that preparation isn't really finished when the first participant arrives. We have to check if the tasks are, how hard they are to solve. And to do this, you actually could make a pilot study. So you have all the data. One in the group just pretends he is the user, and you do like a run of everything. So in Icelandic, it's called generalprøva. I don't know what it's called in English. So like the last run before the premiere. We have to think about that the tasks are realistic. There shouldn't be any help included in the text of the tasks. And then this is about the help, the fifth and the sixth. That we have to consider not helping too much and not too little either. And then we shouldn't defend the system. So if they have a problem, we should always be very, very happy to see it. So say, great, thank you. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. That's fine. Yeah, great. Even though you have heard it 4 times before, you should try to just tell them, wow, this was great for us. Because it's so, they won't tell you much if you said, yeah, thank you, but we have heard this before. Yeah, thank you, yeah. And if you, for the 3rd time, when you say that, they won't tell you anything more. So we have to be very, very positive about all the feedback. And then we can go home and interpret what we do about it. We are not promising that we will do everything they say, even though we are positive. Yeah, the 8th one is quite hard. The conductor helps without knowing it. And that could be done in many ways, like we could nod, or we could say, but then we are really telling them they are on the right path. So, and if we don't know it, it's really hard to do something about it. But we have to try to be neutral and positive and polite. Yeah, so the 9th one actually goes with the 7th. We should never have say this. Yes, we've already thought about this. And then we always have to include some discussion. It's called debriefing, or some way of checking what they think about the system afterwards, after the task solving session. So we have questions. This could be done with an interview or with a questionnaire. You will, in assignment 4, you will do it with a questionnaire, but you should collect the knowledge from the background information of the user. And then after the task solving session, you're measuring the satisfaction or the user experience, which is like a more extended version of the satisfaction. Yeah, and the pilot testing is really, really good because this process is quite thorough. So it's good to have one participant for this run before the premiere. And this participant doesn't need to be a perfect representative. It could be one colleague or one in your group or one friend or something. Yep. And maybe the most important thing to remember when we are doing user testing is that the user is not on test. It is the system. We are checking the system. And it is very often you could hear that when people run into problems, like the problem I had there with the error message, people could start to think, oh, I'm so stupid. I can't figure this out. You often hear this in user testing, that people blame themselves. But then you have to, take it up and tell them, no, it's the system that is not supporting you. You're the right representative user. The system is not designed in the right way. Always tell them that you're really not, and they could also think, oh my God, I haven't solved any of the tasks. I'm failing on your test, And then you say, no, it's the system that is failing. It's not you. Once we were doing usability testing, and there was an elderly guy participating, and we were there, 2 women conducting the user testing. And then the phone rang. And he answered and said, oh, hi, Palle. You can't disturb me now. I'm in a test. And I was like, oh my God, no, you're not in a test. It's the system we are testing. So he really felt that he was in an exam. He was doing something, and he said, there are these nice ladies observing me, and I'm really in a hurry now. Bye, Palle, like this. So you could really experience that he was very stressed by us being there observing him, and he felt that he was in a test. So this is a common feeling, and we have to do everything we can to try to make it a nice atmosphere and tell them all the time that it's the system that is evaluated. Okay, the total time. I don't think you will do such a long evaluation sessions in this in assignment 3, because we would like tourists to participate, and we won't be able to ask them to take 1.5 hours. But if you're doing it for a company like I've been doing, we have done, it has often been 1 hour, 1.5 hours. So it depends on the assignment. Yeah. So when we're doing user testing, we have to, of course, first select and recruit representative users, decide where to do it, decide what tasks the users should perform, and what type of data we are collecting. We have to prepare all the material that we will use before the test session, meaning the background information, the tasks and material during the task solving session, and the material afterwards. So there's a lot of material you need to prepare. And actually in assignment 4, we will prepare some of this for you. Okay. Actually, this example is from what I was telling you about the elderly guy before. So this was a summative evaluation, meaning summative user testing, and it was conducted in the aluminium factory nearby Hafnarfjörður called Ísal. And they really wanted to know if the new system here that they were supposed to deploy for all the users there, if this was better than the old system. They had been using the old system for many years and people liked it and they knew how to use it and so on. But then the mother company of Ísal in Hafnarfjörður told them, well, now all my companies have to use this new one. So there's no way out. You just have to use this. And the manager then wanted to measure, is the new better than the old? It was translated to Icelandic, but then it was similar in all the Ísal companies or Alcan companies. Okay, so what we did was that we went to their offices and we measured the old system. We had 6 tasks and we had the questionnaire before and after, and also after 2 tasks. So they solved 2 tasks and then filled in a task solving questionnaire, and then after all the tasks, they filled in a satisfaction questionnaire. They also filled in a background questionnaire. So there were 3 questionnaires actually. And we went there 3 times and asked them to solve the same 6 tasks. And we were measuring this. Can they complete the defined tasks? On what time? And what are the comments? And it was, I think, a loud test with 6 predefined tasks. Yeah, and we had 3 types of questionnaires. And the data we were collecting, you can see there, task completed or not, usability problems, user comments, the data they entered, because sometimes they entered wrong data. So we wanted to know that. They were asked to enter some codes and and it was in a drop-down list, and some users just said, I always pick this for everything. And it wasn't right. So the managers wanted to know that. And then one thing that they had was that this system was quite complicated. So they had made many sort of additional systems to go beside it, to search for codes and so on to insert in the system. So while using the system, they were in that system and then had to check something in the other system and go to the system again, and then check something in a third system and go to the system again. So they were always switching between systems. So this is why we counted how many systems they were using for solving each one task. Okay, so these are the tasks, 7 of them, and this is in Icelandic. But the first one could be like you got an announcement of something that is corrupted, and you got a description of the failure. Establish an issue in the system for that failure. So, okay, and what we did was that we could actually compare the results. So CSD is the old system, and in 61 of the tasks in the old system were finished, 22 finished but with wrong data, and then 17% were not finished. They just said, no, I can't do this. Yeah. In the new system, 2 weeks after deploying it, they couldn't finish 31% of the tasks. And then, but we thought, okay, but they've only been using this for 2 weeks, so we will give them like half a year, and then we'll come again. But then only 21%. It has had come down to 21%, but it was still not as good as the old system. The interesting thing here is, here are the tasks. So these are the 6 tasks, and you could see the green and the blue is for the new system, and then the pink one is for the old. So for some tasks like this one, checking placement and what do you call it? How many you have of this particular thing. Everybody could do it in the old system, but it was really hard in the new. Yeah. But then checking the work, how much work has been done on this particular issue was really easy in the new, but hard in the old. So here you can see actually how we could use the summative data to just see the status of how is it to solve different tasks. So what could we say to the managers? Was the new system better than the old one, or vice versa? Was the old better than the new? What would you say? Somebody? Yeah, right. Yeah, good answer. So yeah, it is similar in the way that there are a lot of tasks that I couldn't solve in both. And it is similar, the 17% and 21 is similar, but some tasks are easier to do in the old and some in the new. So if this task was very, very important, then you could maybe say, well, okay, because they do this over and over again, then it's good to have the new system. And they don't do this as often, so it's okay. But I don't know this information. The managers didn't know this. Okay, so we also, I will skip this. I think this is not that so important for you. But we also, didn't I have the average? Yeah, here's the average. No, this is how many systems they used for each task. So you can see that in the old system, they were always switching between systems, especially for 4 tasks out of 6. But in the new system, they could more or less use the same system. They were sometimes switching to one other system, but not as, and this they really thought was good. So when we explored the benefits and drawbacks of the old system and the new, they were many of them were saying, well, it's very good to have one system and it's easy to use. And then they were saying that there was some data missing, and this was a bit outside what we were exploring actually. And they were saying that there were too many systems that you had to use, switching between one and one system to the other, and again, just to solve one task that takes like 3 minutes was hard for them. And they thought it took too much time to use it, but actually, I thought I had, didn't I have any? Oh, okay. That's the same. So we also collected the time, and actually it took less time to use the old system, but they thought, or the feeling was that it took longer time. Also, so the conclusion in the example, we've discussed it, that it was more effective for solving 2 of the tasks and worse for 3, and the same for 1. But maybe the main thing was, if we look at this one, this is actually how many users could solve each task. In the old and the old is black, but they didn't improve that much. This was really, really like an eye opener for me. So here we are checking how many users could solve this particular task. And in the new system, there were like 40% there for task 1. And after 6 months, there was 60%. So it was very slowly that they learned how to use it. And for the tasks that were particularly bad, after 2 weeks, they were almost the same after 6 months. They didn't really, so saying that user, oh, this is okay, it's okay that they have problems because this is, you know, a new system and they will learn how to use it, no problem. It's not right. They didn't learn that fast. So we have to design it nicely in the beginning. That's really vital. Okay. Let's talk about what data to collect when we are doing user testing. We have talked a lot about that usability problems are often collected. We can also collect the time it takes to solve one task. If the task was solved or not, and you showed examples about that in this in my experiment there. If they stop, we could collect information on how much they could actually solve of the task, how far they did, or how many, you know, how much was done. And then we can also collect some information about the time used for errors, the functions used, the mouse click is used. This really depends on what objectives we had. You're working now on making the usability goals. So if we have a usability goal that everything has to be 2 or 3 mouse clicks away, we would definitely collect those to see if we have reached the goal. So it depends on what motivation or what goals we have. And remember that we have both quantitative and qualitative data. Quantitative is what you count, and qualitative is more what people say, their judgment, their comments. And that is a bit hard to measure by numbers. You can't do it with questionnaires. You could start to count how often they say something positive and how often they say something negative and so on. But these are often the most important things. Really listening to what they are saying and doing something about it. So I recommend that you do both. Try to gather both quantitative and qualitative data when doing user testing. Yeah, so when we are analyzing these data, of course, when we have numbers, we could use numerical methods to do averages and sum up and so on. But for qualitative analysis, we try to summarize, make themes and find patterns. So these are different things. And you have actually worked a little bit on qualitative analysis on the using the affinity diagram. There you were really using this skill. Yeah, so for writing, usability problems could be a simple scheme like this. just saying who is the conductor, who is the participant, and is there a data collector, what is the place of the test and the time, and what was the system that we were testing, and then just comments. But you will, in assignment 4, we will give you a sheet like this to fill in. Yeah, this is one thing that I would like to tell you about. This is maybe the last thing we will do now today. Success rates are quite neat. This was Jacob Nielsen, the guy that designed travel weather. He also designed this. So this is like a one number of the success of the user test. You have there users, user 1, 2, 3, and 4, notandi. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the columns are the tasks. And then 0 means that this user didn't finish this task. Okay, so user 1 couldn't find the address and telephone of EJS. We were evaluating the website at that time, and it was down below, like in every other website, the address and the telephone, but he couldn't find it. And he said, I will not, I can't, I tried over and over again and I can't find it. So I would like to get the next task. And we were like, are you sure? Yeah, okay. But this was a good information for us. So, but see there's one task, finding information about OLAP. This was this was like a service that we were providing to people, and there was none of the users that could find it. So we were trying to sell the service, and none could find the information. So that was pretty bad. Yeah. And also finding how to come to EJS, leiðarkort, it's like a way of how to find. There was only one user that could find that. So having a table like this is very illustrative of the status of the user testing. And then we could also actually start to calculate and make one number. So if all that get a 0, an O get a 0. If they completed partially, which is the H in the table, there's only one H, I think. Yeah, they get half a score, and then the finished one, which is L, called lokið, that's finished, they got 1. And then you can count all the scores from the table, and all the possible scores are of course 4 times 1, 2, how many? 3, 9, yeah, there were 13 tasks. So 4.13, no, 4, no, not 4.13, 4, hvað það? 4 sinnum, segir mér það. 4 times, right? 4 times 13 is of course 52, but there were 3 that we didn't ask user 3 to do, 3 tasks, because he was in a hurry. So then the total possible score, if everybody had finished the tasks that they were asked to do, was 49, and the outcome was 37.5. So the success rate was 77. Yeah. And then, you know, we could see this, we could maybe fix the OLAP and the leiðarkort and then do another study and check the success rate again. So we could then have like say, okay, our goal for the success rate is 95% or something. So we will ask you to do a success rate calculation in assignment 4. Let me just check. Yeah, so this was success rate, and here we are showing a list of the problems that we found. Here is the number of users that had the problem, and there's also a list, it is divided into the severity, so very serious one, middle, and then minor. And there were 6 very severe, 3 in the middle, and then 7 minor problems. And this was the name of the problems. And then after, we will also ask you to do this. But you also have to take this, each and every problem, and describe what is the problem actually about. So this last one here is the titles are terribly small and hard to read. So then maybe the description is many users had problems, or no, it was only one. One user had a problem when reading and commented that the titles were very small and hard to read, especially on page this when he was solving this task or something. So you have to give a description on the problem afterwards. Okay. Maybe we'll just finish by this. There are also possibilities in where the user testing can take place. So like I said, it's best if it is in the realistic environment, but we could do ask people to come in a fixed usability laboratory, meaning that we have a control of everything. Or this is also getting quite popular, doing it remotely. So people are at home or something, and then you don't have a conductor there, but you have a connection by Skype or something. We will ask you to do it in a realistic environment. Thank you all for coming today, and I will see you Monday.